Dr. Neals Chitan, you are a crime reduction specialist. Explain to the viewers just exactly what is a crime reduction specialist.
Our world, our 21st century society, is being laden with crime. So basically, what I've done, I've actually looked at some approaches, workable, relevant approaches that can bring numbers down, that can give people stop the consequences that we're seeing, that filling our jails, that and that kind of stuff. So when you say crime reduction, it's really mean looking at the roots of crime, right, and being real about it, not just talking about it.
Where have your work taken you?
My work has taken me to Africa. I've done Kenya, I've done Ethiopia, I've done England, and we're talking England from South London, if people out there know England, from Brixton right across to Manchester. London was under the guns, and I was called in there. I've done the U.S., 7 states in the U.S., with a lot of my work in New York City, of course. Canada, where I live now, from Toronto right up to British Columbia. And in the Caribbean, I've done Jamaica, Cayman, I think it's coming, I'm trying to come down the chain, St. Kitts, St. Vincent, Grenada, Trinidad, and Tobago.
Okay. Now tell me, how did you get involved in this type of work?
As a young man growing up, I had a story. And I was profiled, by the way, by a teacher. First of all, I was bullied badly, by the way. I was a little skinny boy. And I didn't like myself. And Ian, what I found out is a lot of people are getting into that kind of a crime and what have you. It starts with who they think they are. Some of them are looking for, I call the longing for belonging, right? And so for me, as a bullied boy going to school, I had no older brother. I had 2 sisters. And so I couldn't go and ask a sister to fight for me. That wasn't the cool thing in those days.
Right.
So I would take my beating. They would tease me. I was skinny. My name is Neals Chitan. Neals, that's a strange name.
Right.
Chitan, make it worse. Up to today, people don't know who I am. They know he's a black guy, right? And so I didn't like that. I wanted to be a Derek or Ian, if you please, right? And so when you don't know your identity, it affects the way you walk and attitude. And that was for me. And they didn't even call me Neals. They called me Toothpick. Because I was skinny, right? And that hurt me inside. And I just became a troubled boy. On top of that, Ian, I had a gift, but that which is as a liability. And that was my mouth. Mm-hmm. Because I never fought. I had skinny arms, I didn't fight. But I had a mouth. I was assertive. And I would tell you off so badly, you would feel like this. So that was my fighting back, right? So now you take that and you see where I'm coming from. And now I'm an older. And I'm in the area, the social field, I'm saying to myself, what is it that driving these boys? So I try to back it up a little and sit in their seat and wear their shoes and speak to them in the community, which a lot of my professional friends don't want to do, right? Get down dirty in the community and speak to these boys. Go to the jails and see what's really hurting you, man. Why are you doing that?
But why didn't you take that route? Why didn't you try to hurt people back?
I tell you what, I was rescued because I was hurting people in school. When I realized, because I almost had a fatal situation where the bully beat me up so badly that I was bleeding, right? And when I went home, and today I'm going to be telling that story in New Horizon, by the way, when I leave here. And when I went home and in blood, and I said no, and my mother told me the story.
What age were you about?
I was 11, okay. And my mother told me the story, where my name came from. Ian, when I went home in blood, my mother said to me, "Who did that to you?" You know what my answer was? I didn't call the name of the bully, you know. I said, "Mom, why you call me that stupid name?" You see what happened? It wasn't the pain on my lips and my face. It was the pain in my heart of not knowing who you are. Ian, something happens to individuals when they find themselves, you know. And my mother told me the story. And mothers and fathers out there, tell your children. You know, some mothers and fathers tell their children, you know what, you are a mistake. You are a mistake. I know one girl that tells her daughter, you know, your father raped me. Don't do that. right? Don't. So my mother said to me, "Son, you know where your name came from? You know, everybody had Neil. I don't know about 4 or 5 Neil. I didn't want to be Neil, right? So I made your name. I put an S. And you know what an S mean, guy? That S means special.
Special.
I thought it meant silly or stupid, so I was acting silly and stupid until that day when I went home broken and my mother said, boy, that S means special. I went to school next day like a champion, right? And now a teacher sees me. Teacher sees me with my big mouth. And one teacher said, that big mouth is going to get you in jail, somebody's going to kill you. Another teacher sees my big mouth and says, what could I do with that big mouth? Teachers out there. You hold the key. He said, what could I do with that big mouth? You know what he did? He made me teach his class. At 11 years, the man gave me 2 encyclopedias and said, go home and study South America.
And you embraced that challenge.
Oh, my goodness. You know, Ian, when I got beaten on the day and I was in blood, I didn't walk on the main street. I was so embarrassed. I walked in a shortcut. And I'm begging young people to don't walk in a shortcut. I mean, I don't mean just a normal shortcut. Don't stay by yourself. Because you would say, you start feeling pity for yourself. Why nobody like me? You do something stupid, right? But the day this man gave me 2 encyclopedias, Ian, I felt like a teacher. I never walk in a shortcut. I didn't put it in my bag. I put it in my arm so everybody could see. I'm a teacher. I came back and I blew it out of the water. Ian, I'm 57 years old, by the way. So that would have been 46 years ago. And today, I could repeat to you still, every country in South America, what the capital cities and what the sizes are. He gave me a chance. And when I was finished teaching the class, you know what the gentleman said to me? He whispered in my ear, Neals. Boy, my name sounds so beautiful now. Neals, one day you'll be a phenomenal speaker. I remember 2003 when I was invited to Kenya. It was the 40th anniversary. And I got an invitation, which I have in my bag, with the coat of arms for Kenya, invited by Dr. Mwai Kibaki, who was the president, to sit with his entourage in the large stadium, 87,000 people. And Ian, as I sat close to the president, oh God, I wanted to cry. As I thought that one teacher said to me, I'm going to die and go to jail.
Yeah.
And another just had a vote of confidence in me.
Now,
And
how
here
did
I
the
am.
students that you were teaching then, how did they relate to you? Did it change the way they dealt with you?
You mean in the classroom?
Yeah.
Yes, because you know what? And I tell people, when I talk to students, I say to them, don't tell me, Mr. Chitan, I will. Do it, because these days we don't trust, okay?
Yeah.
If you say to me, Mr. Chitan, I change, I don't know what that means, right? But if you walk through, I know you always come through my classroom though, and you're always rude and obnoxious, right? And today you walk through and say, hi, Mr. Chitan, how are you doing? Oh, I believe you. I said, wait, is that Ian?
Yeah.
Right? I believe you, right? So what happened is that the gentleman gave me a chance to teach the class and whispered in my ear a vote of confidence. You know what he did after? Every time there was a debate, guess who got the debate? He didn't just say it. He created opportunities for me, right? And I grew stronger and stronger until I am an international speaker today, right?
Right.
So I'm saying to you today, when you say crime reduction, I know what we need, and I told the police that, right? I told them that. And I told Mr. Petty, I told National Security, I will say that across St. Kitts and Nevis. We believe when crime goes up, spikes, that is enforcement. And enforcement is good. We need enforcement to keep our residents safe, to build a confidence back, right? Because if crime goes up in Bastia, and then everybody's scared to go and sleep, no, you hear a pebble fall on your roof and you think it's something, right? You're scared.
Yeah.
So it's a police and law enforcement duty to bring back a certain level of normalcy
Right.
and confidence, right? But that alone wouldn't stop it. Because let's say we rooted out 20, 30 guys and arrested them. There's a next crop coming up. Little brothers who idolize these guys with their guns and what have you, or other guys in the community that just can't wait to be 16 or 18 to have theirs too. That crop is coming up. So, and of course, we didn't even talk about the EADA approach, but you see
Right.
that's coming in there.
Yeah, so let me just go back a bit because you spoke about Mr. Petty, you spoke about interacting with the police. How did you become initially involved with St. Kitts and Nevis? I understand it wasn't even on a government level.
No, it wasn't. I work in Toronto, and I met a Kittitian gentleman who I knew a little bit, but got to know him within the last year or so, even better. He's a pastor. He was born right on Bay Road, right, by the market. Pastor Charles Leader. He was a high school teacher at Keon here, right? And his church is right in the heart of all of downtown Toronto, core downtown, with all the issues. And he knew my work, and so we were doing some work together. Around that same time, the crime rates came out for St. Kitts, where he topped the charts. And he said to me, Mr. Chitan, I'm going to St. Kitts in March. I said, well, good for you, man. He said to me, no, you're coming with me. I said, coming with you? Are you crazy? He said, yes, you're dropping everything and come with me. By the afternoon, this gentleman sent me an email with a ticket paid in my name, right? And I was on my flight to St. Kitts. So when we came in, it had nothing to do with government, nothing to do with anything. It was Pastor Leader inviting me to come to his country.
Right.
So it was kind of fact-finding. It was kind of a pathfinding, if you know what I'm talking about, trying to find which path we're going. And we engaged the community.
Right.
Of course, we came through an organization called CHAMPS, Keon High Alumni Mentoring Program for Students.
Right.
And that's made up of a number of students. By the way, I heard your Prime Minister went there too, and so he's part of that. And when I came, they embraced me.
So the focus really was on the Keon community, that's small
correct.
community.
That's
okay.
correct.
Right.
Because, they had the infrastructure in place
Right.
to host me. And so we spoke in almost every church there, just kind of letting them know what was going on. And then Tuesday, we held a town hall meeting where we invited the public to come out. And of course, Mr. Petty, who is Permanent Secretary for National Security, he was there. And Minister Hamilton was there. And they saw the impact of the presentation, not just what I said, but the impact on the people that responded back. Commander Wallace was there, Patrick Wallace was there, and they identified it, Project Stop and Think, as a workable thing, something that's relevant for the community, could get to the heart of the community.
And that was when?
That was in March, I think it was March 19 to 26, 2016.
Right.
And Mr. Petty saw it, and he became a believer, and he sold it to his ministry. And they called me back in June
Right.
for actual formal consultation.
And tell us the difference between that consultation. Now, what exactly did you do while here?
Right. The consultation then was to expose or uncover, showcase the it's a copyrighted approach. A lot of people say to me, well, I never heard about it. Well, yeah, you never heard about it because you got to read my writing to hear about it. Right? So it's the EDER approach, EDER. Right? And I guess your question will be, what is the EDER approach, right? So let me get into it. The E in EDER stands for enforcement, right? And let me say on TV here that many people think enforcement has to do with the police. I say no, that's the last line of enforcement. First line of enforcement is in home. If mom or dad cannot set rules for children to be guided by, these children would live a lawless life. But the question, Ian, is mom and dad, are they living lawful lives or law-abiding lives? Because children learn more what you model than what you say, right? So, all right, so if we miss them here, the children cannot live a law-abiding life at home, then guess what? The schools are importing the problem.
Yeah.
That's the second line of enforcement. And then guess what? Teachers are throwing up their hands. Principals saying, oh my God, what would I do with this boy? Right? Chances are, Ian, in my work, these are the children you would see on the third level of enforcement, right? Where the police have to go in and do something. They get charged, they get detained, they get remanded, they get sentenced, serve time, right? So that's E. The D in EDER stands for diagnosis. Now that we've gone to a community where the crime has gone on, let's lose my Keon community, because I love Keon. I proclaim myself to be a Keonite, whatever that means, right? So let's say there are 4 homicides in Keon within a short space of time. Commissioner Ian Quealy and his men would get all the cars together. Blue and red lights would be going around the roundabout heading into Keon, right? Because they want to know what happened there. How come we had 4 homicides, right? And you know what they do? They would go in there with the different tactics. They would try to talk to people and interview them and say, "Did you see? What did you say?" Of course, living in an anti-snitch climate, nobody want to talk really. Okay, well they can't get at information, so then they go more forcefully, They might kick a couple doors in, search, arrest 15, 20 guys, related or non-related, right? The next stage of the judicial process, of course, is remand, is booking, is remand, then 48-hour bail, right? Okay, so we go through all that. And now we really sentence 10, right? Sentence 10. And we say, okay, praise God, from whom all blessing flow.
Yeah.
It's finished. No, it's not finished. Okay, 10, I don't want to use criminals, but they're in jail, right? You have an next crop coming up. You have younger brothers and you have guys who idolize them and say, you know what? When I get big, I want to be just like him.
Yeah.
I want a gun just like that.
Right.
If you don't do something about the next crop, it's just about time we have another wave of violence again. So the D is diagnosis. We now, after we put these behind bars, we have to go back in the community, get all the relevant professionals to do a diagnosis. Why did? What was the factors, the mitigating factors, contributing factors to the crime spiking?
And I guess that would lead to E now, the other E.
Right. Now that you know education.
Education.
But Ian, the thing about it is that a lot of people think when we say education, we think about math and science.
Right.
A lot of the guys who get involved in criminals are guys who have fallen through the educational cracks, right? Frustration because they didn't go to college, right? So they're on the streets basically. And you remember the old cliche, what grandma taught us, an idle hand is the devil's workshop, right?
Right.
So they're idle. So they get into stuff. They have needs. They may have children. They got to supply needs, right? So they get into drugs, get into all kind of stuff. Okay. You can't go and tell them, well, education, math, and English. They're totally not interested. You have to bring something to them that is heart-gripping and heart-throbbing. When they hear you, they say, damn, what was that? I got to stop and listen to this. Right?
So what do you do?
That is Project Stop and Think.
Right.
That is Project Stop and Think.
Okay.
Where we go in there and educate, but educate on who you are, self-identity, self-esteem. Life is going to be unfair,
Yeah.
but it's your attitude, and all these beautiful sessions. We move from who you are to where you should be. So by the time we have a group, let's say we have a group in Keon or Sandy Point, and we have 40, 50 coming out on a weekly basis. My job is to try. That's why I have 2 hours free time, so I can meet with them one-on-one and try to do a self-inventory and say, you know what, guy? You know I like to argue a lot, guy, but you could be a lawyer. That's what lawyers do.
Yeah.
They argue in court, right? Immediately the guy says, me could be a lawyer. You just open his horizon, right? So we move from there to success. And they become so focused on success, they don't want to hit you back.
Right. So you take what is their best aspect, so to speak, and you turn it into something positive,
Right.
which is like what happened to you.
That happened to me.
And the R in either is for
Is rehabilitation. Because now we have, in the case we're talking about, we have 10 that sentence. They're coming out, you know.
right.
They probably in 3 to 5 years. They're coming out. Now, when they go inside there, you have, number one, they would have lost connections with the community. If they had a child with a girlfriend, she may have moved on, right? Somebody else. They may have lost their jobs. They may have lost their money to lawyers, so they broke, okay? They're coming out to a criminal record, unemployable. When they come out on the streets, but they remember that Ian or Mr. Chitan were crown witness against them. That caused them to be in jail. They go out for revenge. All right? So what we have to do is to go into the institutions and polish the hearts of criminals. I like to say that. Let them know there's a better way. And Ian, Monday gone, I was in the jail. My brother, you would have left in chairs. When you see guys and you know what they record, and some guys are in there for life, but they get their heart polished, man. They didn't know who they were, you know, and to see the behavior is different. So my thing is, if we could change menaces into mentors, we would have gone full circle. Any model that could take criminals off the street and reintegrate them back as a mentor has to be the answer.
Right. And so you were here in June last year, 2016, where you would have done an initial assessment. You met with a number of stakeholder groups, young people, if I recall correctly, the police, various government agencies. Where do you think the responsibility, because we hear it say, you know, all along, is that the police can't do it alone. The government can't do it alone. But where do you think the responsibility lies ultimately for persons really trying to reduce crime? Where does it begin? You hinted at it earlier.
Okay. First of all, it is a nationwide responsibility. Okay. Of course, we have the buck stops at the Ministry of National Security.
Right.
That's national, of course, right? But we need to get all stakeholders at every level involved, right? That is why on the 9th, Mr. Petty setting up, on the 9th of February is a national symposium, right? Where we'll be bringing together mental health workers, teachers, pastors, psychologists, sociologists, you name them, social workers, career guardians, principals, right? Together. In that particular presentation, I would be exposing 12 generic psychosocial roots of crime and violence and show you how each root feed what kind of crime. Now, once that is done, we get into the work. And this is not talk shop, my friend. We talk too much now.
Because there's some persons out there who might have said, I've done this before.
Yeah.
I would have been exposed to something similar. What is going to be the difference?
Right. Well, what's the difference in this case is that it's not talk shop, it's workshop. So after the dissemination of the information, we now break into our interest groups. All interest groups come together. Teachers come together. Clergy come together. And don't tell me when I go back and talk about Jesus saves. We've been hearing Jesus saves. And by the way, I'm a Christian. I'm not knocking you and your salvation. Thank God for it. But there are some relevant things we could do. So, Pastor, tell me, you're preaching about Jesus saves, praise the Lord. But what would you do about poverty? Suppose you choose the word poverty and hopelessness, right? That root. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to create a fund in your church to help families that are in distress? What are you going to do? When a family has a boy, for example, that's defiant, tell me, write it on the paper, what you're going to do, right? Now, with all that, Ian, all these stakeholders coming up with their strategy, you see, it is a framework for national crime strategy, right? So it would not be Chitan come from Toronto with his big mouth. No, it wouldn't be that. It would be something that's formulated by Kittians and Nevisians, and they could own and say, that's ours. We have been a part of that. That is why in that symposium, you are going to choose, we're not going to give you a route, We're not assigning a route to you. You are going to get together and say, this is the route that's most germane to my profession. Man, you were trained in that profession. So I know you have what it takes to tell me. So the worksheets are very practical. Come up with a strategy, a short-term strategy. Come up with a jingle if you have to, right? How are you going to promote this across the nation, right? Or in your community. Come up with a second phase, which is a long-term strategy, right? Show the sustainable elements of it. It's workshop. So really and truly, it's Kittians and Nevisions building that thing.
What about your success rate? Because there's some, again, who may feel that, okay, St. Kitts and Nevis, the challenges that would have been faced here are different from the ones in Trinidad that you might have been dealt with. The ones in England, the ones in New York, and of course Chicago has a particular challenge right now in the United States. They may feel that your approach might have worked then. Why is it going to work here?
Okay. The truth about it, Ian, if we are honest, there was a time when we could know where you are from by your accent. There was a time when we say flying fish and cuckoo, you know that's Bajan. There was a time when you say steam down or all down, you know that's Grenadian. The way you dress, the way you talk, right? If we are honest, the internet has shrunken in our world to the palm of our hands, right? We see, I'm sure you've seen boys that have never left SKN, and you wonder if they just came on the plane because they look as though they came from New York City. Pants down, bandana in the pocket. They even have the American twang. Why? Because anything happen in the States is right on your phone. And there's a copycat syndrome, right? So basically, I do understand. And by the way, we had a consultation in Marriott, and one of the gentlemen asked a question, Mr. Chitan, would you do something that's, are your roots relevant to St. Kitts and Nevis? I said, you know what? The truth about it, I cannot address every issue in St. Kitts. I'll bring some generic issues that work around the world, and now, as an interest group, your job now is to make it relevant for your demographics, right? So you ask about success. I'm very scared of narcissism So I don't tell you what it is. But I challenge you, if you go on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, just put Neals Chitan impact statements, right? You would see 58, 60 videos from around the world. And listen to what the young people are saying. What has happened? Well, the truth about Ian, just yesterday, SKNIS ran an article out of AVIC where 5 young people gave what the way it rubbed them, their impact. It was powerful impact. We didn't solicit that. They just talk back.
So the
right?
testimonials is how you measure it.
That's right. Testimony. But not only that, we want to quantify results too.
Right.
Right? We want to quantify results. Because right now, 2015, St. Kitts and Nevis closed with 28 murders. 2016, 31. These are not real numbers, right? I am praying that we could cut that in half in 2017. The truth about I want 0. We would all love it 0. But we have to be reasonable, right? And I would like to cut it in half. One man said to me, boy, your God is a small God. All you want is half. I say, I understand that, man, but let's be reasonable here. So I want us to be able to put these things in place at every level of community life. And look and see what happens at the end of 2017. We could quantify numbers. We could plot it on a graph. We could deliver a real report with pictorials, with impact statements. So St. Kitts and Nevis could say, you know what, that was a good investment.
Yeah.
Mr. Chitan, is there a second phase to this? And we go again.
Is there a second phase?
There is a second phase, by the way. It's inbuilt because I'm here for 3 months, right?
Right.
I'll be delivering the material. But we have the materials, right? We have the stop and think poster here, right? These will go on the bed, on the walls of homes, classrooms, and everything. Stop and think before you proceed, right? But saying stop and think is easy. Doing it is so hard, right? So we have the manuals, right? And this is a semi-therapeutic manual, very small. We don't want to frustrate people all the right. But it explains the concepts, and it also has sessions that a mom and a child could do together, or a teacher and a class could do together, right? And then we have respect due. See again, very, very, my friend, we are living in a Texan generation. People wouldn't read 600 pages, but they'll read this, 34, 35 pages, right? Introducing respect, right? We leave this, we train teachers how to use the material. So it take over. But not only that, we're looking for about 10 students in every high school that are really excited about this. These we would make our stop and think wardens, like a little fraternity in school.
So they're like change agents.
Right. And it's student led. Now guess what? At the end of that, we have a reward and an award component to keep the concept going. So even if Chitan is gone, the schools are keeping it going. At the end of the sustainability, at the end of the year, we have a beautiful awards ceremony. And I'm back with awards. And you tell me who are the nominees. But I don't just want it in the schools. I want the police to say, you know what? There were 2 busmen that came head to head for a fight, and one busman backed down because he remembered to stop and think. That guy knows he's a recipient of an award. It must saturate to the fabric of the nation.
Right. And so for persons who would like to know more about your program, about Stop and Think, how can they do that?
Well, you know, they'll have to, because Mr. Petty's is carrying the brunt of the promotions. But my number, you can call me anytime you want to. Parents, if you're there in the community and you're looking for some kind of support, call me. Don't worry about it. I sleep with my phone under my pillow, right? My number is 662-3606, right? 662-3606. And I'll be willing to come out. I'm driving. I'll come out to the extreme to help you if I have to.
And of course, there's information that you will have online as well.
Yes, there will be. Well, you could check my Facebook page because that's what I update more. The website is harder to update here, but you go on a Motivate for Change International, MOTIV-8 for Change International Facebook page. You could add a friend there. Or Neals Chitan, NEALS CHITN, my Facebook page. We could interact there.
Right. Final comment?
My friend, the final comment is that I really want to do all I can to help SKN. I think it's a doable thing because of the size and the population. Jamaica wanted me in there, but that's 2.7 million people. That's going to be a lifetime. But I think we could do it together. I am committed. My office is enclosed. If you call my line into tell you the office is closed for 3 months, and I'm here. Say, Kitson Nevis, you can't kill me with work. I was born for this, for such a time, and I'm here. Let's work together. Let's cooperate together. Media, stakeholders. Let's to sound the alarm. Let them know there's a better way. God gave you a brain, a big, nice brain. Use it. I know somebody's embarrassing you. I know somebody is tempting you to hit them. But think about where you sleep tonight and do the right thing. God bless you.
Dr. Neals Chitan, international consultant, crime reduction specialist. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ian. God bless.